You have to trust me, Daniel. Let the hostage go and I promise you everything will be fine. I want everyone to leave! And I want a car. When I'm outside the city, I'll let her go.
Detroit Become Human is one of those games that is incredibly polarizing. You either love it or hate it, and a lot of that comes down to, why do you play video games? If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and smash the like button too while you're down there. Just do it. The gameplay is very straightforward. You make a series of choices that continuously change how the narrative plays out. There are also many quick-time action sequences that, if you're not fast or careful enough, puts your character in danger.
Watch out, Kara!
This, of course, is the weakest part of Detroit. Between unrewarding actions and awkward movement, the controls definitely take a back seat. I found many of the interactions to be intuitive, but there were many that were just kind of annoying. You get points for using a controller's capabilities, but the execution felt a bit lackluster and unnecessary. The meat of Detroit, and ultimately what will decide your overall enjoyment of the game, is the story. Detroit is all about making decisions and having those choices branch a unique narrative tailored just for you. And while many of these scenes work amazingly well, others just don't. And with the lack of any physical mechanics, the dangerous scenes either feel really hard to actually lose, and if you do mess up enough, it drives a stake right through an otherwise compelling narrative. The other thing I wasn't a big fan of were some of the one-worded dialogue choices. Sometimes they just felt too vague, and my character ended up saying or doing something I wasn't intending them to do. I understand there's a certain elegance and simplicity to it, but some actions or decisions can't easily be summed up with one indistinct word. The first time I beat Detroit Become Human, things didn't go well for my characters, and the ending felt honestly really fucking stupid. When you have a game that's built around narrative, it's really jarring for things to just end abruptly without any kind of resolution. What I ended up doing was going back and replaying the last chapter, in which I got a much more satisfying ending, which begs the question, does the game really need so many terrible endings, or could we have just done with a couple of restart the level screens? Because that's basically what I did anyway.
I hope they didn't harm you.
Oh, no. They just pushed me around, Carl. I'm fine.
The game is definitely saturated with melodrama, but the acting, music, and incredible visuals elevate it to an above-average movie experience. And because I was in charge of making every life and death decision, there was a genuine amount of emotion to be had with each of the characters. Like with many games, actually playing it for yourself is the only way you're going to really get any lasting value out of it. Because you are the one making the decisions, you have a vested interest in the outcome. Overall, if you like a good narrative-based game, like Heavy Rain or Beyond Two Souls, this game is right up your alley and I would recommend it. The game has enough lessons and themes to probably warrant case studies and essays, and the plot holes are generally forgiven because of the very high production value and wonderful acting performances. If you like games with actual gameplay, then this is not for you. Most scenes railroad you through the action, and sometimes even they don't give you a choice. Now the next part is me ranting about spoilers and what I thought worked and what didn't work. If you don't want to know about certain endings, exit now. If you've already played the game or don't give a shit, then climb aboard. It's about to get highly opinionated. So let's start off with what worked for me. Each character goes deviant, or in Connor's case, the option to go deviant for different reasons, and ultimately, the game reinforces those differences as the characters progress. Marcus goes deviant because he essentially wanted the freedom to make his own decisions, and because his owner Carl had basically been grooming him to think for himself for a while, and it just makes sense. This becomes his main driving force, and he jumpstarts an android revolution where he fights for every android's freedom. Kara goes deviant because her unconditional love became more important than the risk of being deactivated for disobeying. This natural love grows as she risks life and limb to get this little girl out of her abusive dad's home and keep her safe as they search for a new place to stay. Now, the fact that you find out later that the little girl is an android herself, if you hadn't already put two and two together, actually reinforces Kara's deviancy, because at that point, the only question I had was, does it even matter whether she's human or not? Love is love. It's not like I felt less attached to her because she was an android. The game constantly forces you to ask, what does it mean to be alive? And what does it mean to take a life? When we finally get to Connor's deviancy, he ultimately transforms because of his orders given to him by Amanda didn't fit with his morality. As soon as he began seeing androids as more than just programming, and even empathizing with them, killing and deactivating them no longer seemed like the right thing to do. And this is further reinforced with Hank, who hates androids, and even he begins to question whether or not he's doing the right thing. I do think that this game succeeds where The Last of Us 2 didn't for me. I felt the themes and morals echo through my gameplay, but I never felt like the game was trying to make me feel bad for the decisions I was making. Detroit actually made me really think about the philosophical questions it was asking, and even though I'd seen those questions before in movies and books, it was refreshing to see a game pull it off rather decently. Now, what I didn't appreciate were the number of shitty endings you could get. It just seemed pointless. And this is where I'd go as far to say that Detroit is totally full of itself. I got to a scene where Alice dies crossing the river, and in that moment it felt less like a story and more like the developers trying to be edgy. Oh look, your decisions led to a horrible ending. Fuck you. Especially when I felt like I was doing everything right, the game rewarded me with such an unrewarding ending. The same goes for Connor's story. Him and Frank were easily my favorite characters, and I ended up at a point where I get killed because I never checked what Hank's kid's name was. What the fuck? It just ends abruptly too. You don't see any more of what happens with the entire storyline. It's just garbage, and I felt like it wasn't necessary to be in there. It didn't make my choices feel profound, it just pissed me off watching 10 hours of decent storytelling get shit all over. And since I just went back and replayed the chapter, what was even the point in having the shitty ending? Replayability? Come on. Now, of course, some of you probably got wildly different stories, and I'm eager to hear them, and your reasoning behind how they made you feel. And remember, it's just a game. People's opinions are going to differ, and that's okay. If you thought the game was trash, cool, but please, for fuck's sake, people, be respectful. Hope you enjoyed the review and my equally as long rant. Until next time, this is Game Ghost. Happy gaming.